Oh,
Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guest is the author of a book titled This Is My Body, Don't Touch Me, a book that tackles child abuse and gives guidance to children to speak up. An amazing topic. Welcome to the show, Deema Al-Alami.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be talking about this book that I co-authored with my friend, Muna Abu Dayeh. It took us 2 years to publish this book, so I'm really happy that we're given the space to actually talk about it.
long time in the working. But welcome to the show, Deema, and we want to ask you a little bit about yourself first before we get into the book.
So my name is Deema Al-Alami. I have been working in the field of education for the past 16 years. I love everything about reading, and about books. And I genuinely feel as a teacher and as a mother that we can really connect with our children when it comes to reading. You're in a safe space, you're cuddling, anxieties are low, so it's really an opportunity for us to kind of either nurture certain values that we want in our children or even understand the world that they're living in. So on my account, I encourage parents, I do workshops on how to read with your children, how to create that environment where they read for pleasure, because a lot of parents end up being like teachers, and trying to make sure that, oh, which level of reading are you in? But actually reading is more than just deciphering words, right? Yeah. It's actually connecting with your child, understanding their world, being able to support them in their experiences and so on. So I do a lot of that. I share tips, about reading. And one of the main things is that I have this amazing community on Instagram, and a lot of parents come and say, Deema, like my kids don't like reading, they hate reading. How can you help me? And the first thing I ask them is like, do you read? Do they see you read? Because they see you on your phone, they want the phone, right? They see you eating, they want to eat with you. So I'm like, do you read? And a lot of parents, unfortunately, not really, maybe just because before I go to bed. So I also created with my cousin, Farah Al-Alami, a book club for adults, where I'm like, come on, read. We want our children to see us read so that they can understand that reading is for pleasure, and it's not what they think of it in school.
Yeah.
And then we thought of my friend and I, Muna Abu Dayeh, about starting to publish children's books. And that's the book. It's in Arabic. It's called هذا جسمي لا تلمسني, but in English it translates, This Is My Body, Don't Touch Me.
There's so much there. That's amazing. We'll get to the book, and I really want to talk about the book club as well.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like your passion and where it grew from. Like, what books did you read as a kid that changed your life?
Honestly, when I think of that, it's the Roald Dahl books.
Same.
I love it.
I love them so much.
Honestly, like I absolutely love them, and I remember so well. I mean, it was easier back then. We didn't have iPads, so I would wake up super early, crazy, but I would wake up super early, and I would have to grab a book until my mom and dad woke up. And I really connected with children's books. When I did my education, my bachelor's in AUB. One of my favorite courses was children's literacy. Writing our own book and so on. So I really feel that's an incredibly powerful tool, and not only for the children. Sometimes you read a book that is catered for kids, and then it resonates so much with you as an adult, and you're like,
that's so true.
I need to have, I need to have better self-esteem, or I need to love myself the way I am. So this is where really my passion lies, and I really, really think now with Instagram, social media, iPads, little phones everywhere. We really need to advocate for reading more. And that's what I hope to do. I hope to transform every family into a reading family.
Amazing.
I read children's books all the time, so love them.
Agreed,
So I get where you're coming from.
The
like
life
it teaches,
lessons.
it's incredible, sharing and kindness and
exactly
so many things. But what advice would you give to the parents who just don't have the time, working 24/7, have to like really hustle and earn, so they don't have the time to be like reading every night to their children?
Absolutely. I mean, I completely empathize. I was a working mom. I don't like to use that phrase, but I was working, and I have 2 boys, and it's always overwhelming, especially now with like the influx of information, like how to feed your kids, how to play with your kids, how to talk to your kids, how to read with your kids. But what I say with reading, honestly, it's 10 minutes a day, and it's not you just as a mother. You're the father, the husband, the partner, the nannies, if you have nannies, the grandmother, whoever it is. If you read for 5 to 10 minutes a day with your kids, and that's all it takes. And it's just like I always say, try to integrate it within your routine, just like brushing your teeth. You go down for breakfast, you grab a book, on your way to school, you get a book. And if you just integrate it in your day-to-day schedule, it doesn't have to be a standalone activity where the mother or the father or whoever, the caregiver, is thinking, oh my God, I need to dedicate 15 minutes a day to do this, because it becomes overwhelming. And one other tip that I give caregivers is, honestly, just have books everywhere. Why do they want to always play on the phone or the iPad? Because it's available. They see it, it's around them. So in my house, for example, I have books in the kitchen, in the washroom, in the car, in the living room, in literally everywhere. So if my child wants to grab something, chances are, yes, the iPad's there. He's going to grab that, but he also has the option to grab a book.
So it's really habit forming.
Yes.
That's what you're saying, but that's amazing. But what about, so when we grew up, it was really easy to read because we didn't have many options. There was a TV with 12 channels.
Exactly.
Now the options are there. So is there, you know, do you recommend Kindles? Do you recommend reading on iPads? Is there a more interactive way that could potentially like grab a child's attention as well as them learning to read and understanding the stories?
I mean, honestly, that's such a good question because really we are competing against a lot of temptations. When we were younger, you know, I remember, at least in Jordan, you know, where I come from, there was TV, like there was a cartoon from 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. and that's it. The rest of the time it was like news and stuff. So it was actually, you know, it was easier for us to enjoy reading. So now what I always say is, we follow the interest of the child. You know, there is a bigger responsibility on parents now to put more effort in understanding what are the children interested in when it comes to reading. You know, what are the good books? You know, there are many books out there, but honestly, there are amazing books, and these are the books that we want our children to be exposed to. Interactive books, fun books, hilarious books that will make them laugh. You know, it's not always serious things. Books with amazing illustrations. So there is that responsibility on the parents because you're competing against a lot of things. You know, you really are. You know, and the other thing is, again, when they're younger, I always advocate for print books, you know, like paper books, paper packs, and so on. But as they grow older and become more of independent readers, I think the switch to Kindle or their iPads is fine. It's based on their preference, as long as their parents stay involved, continue to be involved. Like, what are you reading? Oh my goodness, it's just like discussing a movie. You know, when you go to the movies, if you watch it alone, great. But what's the most fun part about the movie is having the discussion afterwards. Like, I thought it was a crappy movie. No, it was great. I like this. That's the part that you actually enjoy about watching movies. So this is what the children also enjoy. You know, connecting with them about the books. What did you read? What happened to the character? How did you feel? Da, da, da. And this is where we kind of make reading more alive for them.
Very true. You clearly feel very strongly and passionately about this. But why and where did this whole thing start? Like, you know, advocating for reading and just the whole thing, when did it start?
So again, maybe as a teacher, what happened is when I had my son Hazza, and I was like, I stopped working for the first time. I was on maternity, and actually, like, I felt so lost. I'm like, is this my life now? Like, changing diapers and I'm a very let's do things, and I was always active. I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, honestly, I was so sad. And my husband looked at me and he's like, you can't be that miserable. We just had a child. And I'm like, no, I'm not happy. Like, my life changed. And I remember we were watching Game of Thrones season 3, and he's like, okay, what brings you joy? Like, something must. And I'm like, you know what? The only thing is when I read with Hazza, he's like, do something about it. So I'm like, there and then watching season 3 of Game of Thrones, I started the account, which it had a different name. It was All the Books That You'll Read, but I changed it now. And I started the account, went to online, found a picture of books, a stack of books, and I put it there. And I started posting the books that I was reading with my son Hazza. You know, this is a great book. If you have a son, 0 to 3, amazing. This is a book I read as a child and I absolutely loved it. And all of a sudden, this community grew, you know, over the past 5 years now. And then I realized, you know, to the book, the body safety book, is because I read a lot of books I recommend books in Arabic and in English, we noticed the gap. I noticed the gap. Like, there were a lot of books in English about body safety. And as you would know, I don't want to call it a sensitive subject, but especially in the Arab culture, like, maybe we're not as comfortable in talking about our body and body safety, etc. So I told my friend Muna, who's an amazing children's book author as well, I'm like, listen, there's a gap. We need to do this. And again, when I had my second boy, I'm like, I started, you know, red flags. You know, they're going to start going to school. They're going to have exposure to a lot of people in their lives. You know, I was a working mom. They were at home with the nannies, etc. So I'm like, we need to write a book about body safety. So we started this journey like 2.5 years maybe ago, until we finally found a publisher who agreed to publish about this book in Arabic. Because again, you know, the cultural challenges with that, looking for an illustrator who can really get the ideas that we wanted in a way that's culturally appropriate, but also that relays the message in a straightforward way. Because most of the books that we found about body safety in Arabic were 2 types: either translated from English, which again, it doesn't have the same feel, or they are books in Arabic, but they kind of tiptoe around the topic. You know, like, you know, we may have private parts, but, you know, they're like a metaphor. They're like, you know, a country that you own. And it's just like, no, that's confusing for me, like the child, let's just be straightforward. Let's own it. Let's be, comfortable with it. So this is where how we started with the book.
So parents, if you're just joining the show, Deema is the co-author of a book called This Is My Body, Don't Touch Me. Now, some of the statistics that I read when you shared the book are really, really scary. Do you want to share some of those? Because I feel like they must have propelled you into, or encouraged you into really getting this book out there.
Absolutely. So, the statistics, and these are also not, I don't think they're reflective of the reality, because there are a lot of things related to people actually telling someone that they're reporting the abuse that they have. So these statistics are significantly lower than the reality, but they say almost 60 to 70% of people actually undergo a certain sexual abuse in their life before the age of 18.
That's just like impossible to comprehend.
And I always, when I talk about the book, as soon as we leave, if you hang out with your friends tonight, just ask, no judgments, were you ever sexually abused, whether verbally, whether physically, whether like in any way at some point in your life before the age of 18? And you'll be surprised to know how many people go through that. And it's, and that's something we experienced as we were writing the book. We were doing a lot of formal and informal focus groups and, talking about the book and just making sure that how receptive people are to it. And I can't tell you how many people opened up and how shocked I was. I don't know if the word shocked is, but like even saddened to know that people had experiences with drivers, with teachers, with coaches, with religious leaders, in summer camps, and with relatives, and we just need to accept that this exists in our society, and we need to empower ourselves and our children to be able to fight it. Because the more we talk about this topic, the more we can deter any kind of sexual, predators that are out there. And the biggest, statistic that's scary is the reporting statistic. I always give that example. Have you heard of the U.S. Olympic team? They had their Dr. Larry Nassar, who was actually abusing tens and tens of athletes, empowered athletes in the U.S. Olympic team. They're educated, they're exposed, they're empowered. But imagine how manipulative the predators are to be able to do that with a whole team, the U.S. Olympic team, and imagine how it happens again, not only in our culture, in all cultures where this is a taboo topic, and there's a lot of shame associated with it. So the idea of the book is really not to put the responsibility on the child. The book is written in a way to really reinforce an idea that it is your responsibility as a parent to create that open channel of communication where your child can come to you and tell you whatever it is he wants or she wants to tell you, and you believe them. And that's the biggest challenge. Is most of the time children either try to tell parents, and the parents like, shh, aib, like there's a word in aib, like, no, it's embarrassing, it's shameful, don't talk about these things. Or there is no way your teacher would do that. There's no way your cousin would do that. There's no way your friend would do that. So, and automatically, and again, especially in our culture, where we, private parts, the body is like, shh, aib, cover it up, the child automatically assumes that it is shameful. Even if he went through that or she went through that experience, there is shame associated with that. So this book is a very easy book to read. Like if you see the illustrations, they're so friendly. It's actually a fun, very open book. It really focuses on 5 things. Body and autonomy, saying, this is your body. Yes, in our culture, we need to respect the elderly and like the teachers, etc. But you have the choice to decide how to greet them, for example. You want to high five them, you want to say salam alaikum, you want to shake their hand. It is your choice. And this is kind of a message for the parents that, yes, you want them to respect grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, etc. But you need to empower your child to know what he or she is comfortable with. The other idea is, what are your private parts? And we simplify it in a way in our book, again, because it's like the 101 of body safety. It's anything that your swimsuit covers. So for a girl, the top part and the bottom part, the boy is your trunks and so on. The third idea is, again, that do not ever, we kind of make this distinction between a secret and a surprise, because parents, they're like, what's the difference, And usually sexual predators, the way they get to do their act over and over again, and even once, is by complete manipulation and the use of secrets. This is our little secret, don't tell anyone. I'll give you a gift. Shh, this is our thing. If you tell that secret, someone's going to get hurt, etc. So we make a distinction between, what's a secret and what's a surprise. And surprise is something that's usually short-lived, and it makes you feel good, So we kind of show that in the illustrations as a surprise for the little girl having a birthday party, a surprise party. So if someone talks about a surprise, that's completely fine. But a secret is something usually that's long, that's going to make you feel bad in your tummy, that's going to make you feel sick, that might make you feel sweat, you feel just uncomfortable. And the message for the parents is, and the child is, you have the right, and that's not you have to, you have the right to tell your trusted adults about any secret, whether it happened to you now or before. And the whole message is, again, two more messages in the book is, this is your right. It's your right to say no. Because historically, when body safety was being taught, I'm not an expert on body safety. What I did, I'm a mother, and I attended so many workshops, so did Muna. We learned about this because I want to protect my kids, And the biggest shift that happened historically in body safety, previously it was the responsibility of the child. You have to say no. You have to say no, and actually what happens is that kind of counteracts, because we always teach our kids, you have to say no, don't let anyone touch you, you have to say no. And when you are put in situation, and as adults, we are always put in situations where we go back home and we say, oh, I wish I told my boss that, or oh, I wish I told that mean friend that, she needs to stop doing that. But we don't feel empowered in that moment, because this is psyche, and this is what happens. So children might be faced with that situation of a sexual predator, and they might freeze, right? So if we just focus on the idea, you have to say no, you have to say no, and they are unable to say no, what automatically happens? They feel like, oops, mom told me to say no, I didn't say no, I'm not going to tell her because it's my fault. Or dad told me to say no. So the focus of the book is, you have the right to say no. You have the right to tell someone, this is your right. And if we keep on reading this book over and over again with them, what we're trying to do is brainwash them to believe that I have the right to tell anyone no, and I have the right to tell my parents about something that happened to me, whether it was now or 20 years ago, And this is the message that we need to relay, because it's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility to create that safe environment.
Well, what you're doing is you're opening the dialogue and creating the communication channels, which is just amazing.
Exactly.
Oh, you've said so many key significant points there, like Casey said, the communication channels and saying no, all those things. But I just want to ask, there are children who, there are parents, like you said, who don't want to discuss, who ask their kids to stay quiet. So what happens to their on a psychological level, what happens to the child when they have to keep these things to themselves?
Honestly, I personally think that's one of the most traumatic things any human, whether you're a child or a woman or a man, to go through this. But more importantly, if we don't create that open channel of communication, especially now with the internet, your child is most likely going to resort to the internet. And would you rather your child know how to navigate these experiences from you, your guidance, your understanding, your support, or resort to online support, which could be from the wrong person or the wrong resources? We as parents need to remember, as uncomfortable as this topic is, the best resource is you. It's not the internet, because with the internet, we know, with TikTok, with, the exposure that our kids are getting at a very young age, they might get, very wrong perceptions or understandings of what is right, what is wrong, what is accepted, what is not. And the manipulation that's available online, we suffer from it as adults, right? Our self-image. Imagine children who are, so I always say, yes, you might be uncomfortable for 2 minutes to talk about your children. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on air, but my kids, since the age of 2, they know the private parts, the penis, the vulva, as they are, because it's like a shoulder, it's like a nose, it's like, and one of the things that we focus in the book is naming the private parts in their actual names. And I say, I hope they don't cut that out from the air. But you know why? Because when a sexual predator comes across, and God forbid if that happens, and they are aware, the child says, don't touch my penis, or don't touch my vulva, or when the predator hears that the child knows these names, what's the signal for the predator? Automatically that predator will know, oh, oops,
wow,
those kids are, they talk about body safety, they have that family. Let me step back. I'm not saying it protects you completely, but the evidence shows that children who did speak about that, and there's a lot of research, especially in the West, with sexual predators, because psychologists and sexual advocates, prevention advocates, they do a lot of research with them, and this is what has been taken away, that predators, when they see children and families who are comfortable about body safety and they talk about it, it's a deterrence for them. You know, again, doesn't protect
sure.
completely, but it's a deterrence.
What a strong message. And first of all, just an amazing well done to you and Mona for getting this out,
thank you.
because obviously it's so clearly needed.
Yeah.
And I hope parents are watching and can take heed. And just before you leave us, A, let us know where people can get the book. B, let people know your Instagram page. So if they want to read with their parents, they can learn more. And also a quick rundown as to what the book club is.
Okay, so number one, you can get the book. You can contact me or Mona. My account is Deema Al-Alami, and I'm sure you'll tag me, so they'll be able to see that. And I'll tag Mona as well. You can contact us, and we'll direct you to where you can get the book. In the UAE, you can get it from Virgin Mega Stores. They're available there. And my account is Deema Al-Alami. And the third thing, the book club. Oh my God, I love talking about the book club. As I said, I did it with my cousin Farah Al-Alami during COVID. Again, she's obsessed with reading adult books, so she reads like, I don't know, 37, 40 books a year. That's not me. My average is 12. Exactly. I might read 100 children's books a year, if not more. But we started this book club again because of the idea that I told you about, you know, parents feeling that they don't read in front of their kids, etc. But it's a very nice book club because it's a low stress book club. It's not per month. We do it every 6 to 8 weeks. We identify a book, and we're like, what we say again, as I advocate for children, we say, if you read for 10 minutes a day your adult book, in 6 to 8 weeks, you'll be able to finish the book, because we choose almost a book that's 300 pages long. We mix the genres, so we read mystery, we read the thrillers, we read the historical fiction, we read biographies. We mix it up, and every 6 to 8 weeks, we meet once online. It's virtual, so we literally have people from all over the world. We have over 700 members now.
Wow.
Yeah, which is amazing. We meet online for 1 hour. It's now like a family. We discuss the book in such a safe, beautiful environment, especially that we have a lot of people from different cultures. And then we announce the book again. And it's so nice to see. We have people reading the books in like Russian, in English, in Arabic, whatever language, because we try to kind of focus on bestsellers or really, really good books.
Amazing.
Love that. You call it adult books.
Yeah, exactly.
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 Oh, how shows apart.
Yeah.
We can join.
Yes, you have to join.
I'm in.
I like kids. I like the illustration.
I know they're cute. We'll do a book club for you, the kids.
For all of it. Okay, guys, that was amazing. Our reading hero, Deema Al-Alami. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having
Massive
us.
insights.
Thank you so much. Thank
Guys,
you.
that is it. We're back with you every single weekday, morning, same time, same place. Have a beautiful Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.